Hi, this is the Rachel Ham Show. I'm Rachel Ham. This is Nikki. Say hi, Nikki. Hi. And I'm so glad you joined us today. Everything appears to be working again. Microphones are working, lights are working this time, cameras working. Very exciting. So, I am finally going to be sharing with you my favorite easy go to recipe that everyone loves. I've literally never met someone who does not like this recipe. So, I'm going to share it with you. But why? Why am I sharing this recipe with you? Okay. Let's talk about that first, because I think that recipes are kind of a dime a dozen. You can find recipes anywhere, anytime. So, why am I even taking the time to do this? Well, first of all, I really believe that the United States of America and the world for that matter, but I'm in the United States, so I'm especially focused on the United States, that the United States' hope of ever really being great again or having a country that we're really proud of, that we love, a country that appears to be going in the right direction, a country where things are as we believe they should be, where there's peace, the cities are safe, inflation is lower, we can afford to live and function without extreme stress. I really believe that our only hope of all of that is a mass spiritual awakening and turning back to God. And one of the ways that I think that, or I don't know if it's one of the ways that that will happen, or if it's one of the byproducts of that happening, of us turning our hearts back towards God, is us going back to very traditional values, very traditional kind of all American godly values. And one of the things that I think is going to happen, and this is going to be controversial to some of you, maybe not to others. And I certainly am not saying this to come across judgmental or be offensive or make anyone feel shame in any way, shape, or form. Okay. But I really believe that we have been sold a pack of lies when it comes to the women's lib movement and the concept of women being equal to men in that they should be out in the workforce, making equal pay, doing, everything a man can do, blah, blah, blah. Are we equal? Absolutely, we are. Men and women are equal in the sight of God. I think there's no doubt about that. And in fact, even in scripture, it says there, after Jesus came, he said, there is no longer male or female, slave or free, Hebrew or Gentile. It's like, no, we're all equal in the eyes of God. God loves us all. We are all of equal value. That's not disputable. What I do want to dispute is the concept that women should be moving into what are traditionally male roles in order to be considered equal, as if that's the sign that we're equal. Um, my husband and I chose for me to be a stay at home mom, and I didn't love it. I didn't love being a stay at home mom. I really wish I could go back in time and maybe have a way to find more peace and joy in it. But that's just like the honest truth. I didn't love being a stay at home mom. I've liked it a lot as they got older, but when they were little, when I had four little boys, um, I was exhausted and stressed and often depressed and anxious. Now, a lot of that has to do with my background. As you know, I have a background of trauma, childhood trauma, and things that I hadn't worked through yet. So a lot of that was still really affecting my life when I was a young stay at home mom. So I really think that's a lot of why I struggled so much. But it is also just a really hard job. Being home with little kids is, I think, the hardest job. I've worked outside of the home, I've worked in the home, and I can tell you, I think working in the home is more work. It's harder. So, I mean, I think that a lot of people think it's harder to be a mom that's working. And in some ways it is because you're trying to balance even more. You have your work life stuff, and then you also have your home stuff that still has to get done. And I think that that obviously is challenging, but I think being in a work environment is easier than being a stay at home mom. So that's my 2 cents. You can disagree. It's fine, whatever. But that's how I feel about it. I think that, I think we definitely do not give enough credit to stay-at-home moms and how hard and exhausting and thankless often that job is. But when we first started having kids, which was much earlier than expected, I don't know if you know my story at all, but I was told that I was not going to be able to have kids. So my husband and I got married when we were 20, right after we turned 20. And I was told I would not be able to have kids, and then ended up pregnant shortly after being told that I was not going to be able to have kids. So pretty interesting. We were not ready to have kids at that point. We'd only been married for 10 months when I got pregnant. But we were thrilled, obviously, that I was able to have kids. So we were very young. We were still in college. We were very poor. We had like just enough money to barely survive. We were literally poverty level. We made a combined income of $13,000 our first year we were married. So by no means were we financially in a situation where it made sense for me to be a stay at home mom. But that is what we decided to do. So my husband, God bless him, such a hard worker. He increased his college workload. He took 25 units one semester and 22 units in the other semester, and had like a 3.8 GPA too, because he's amazing. And also was working on top of that. So it was crazy, but he did that so he could speed up the process of graduating and starting his career, which he did. He started teaching when, let's see, I believe our son was 6 months old when he started his first teaching job, which he started without a teaching credential. He started with an emergency credential at a private school while he was getting his credential. So that school, I believe our income was like between 17 and 18,000 for the whole year because it was a very small Christian school and yeah, so not much pay. And then I was staying home. So it was, to say the least, very tight, very, very, very tight. But we did it. Now, I know that prices have gone up and all that, now that was 25 years ago. But still, my point is that um, I get pretty frustrated when I hear people say they can't afford to stay home as the moms, that they have to work. I don't think that's true. I think you can make sacrifices and make choices that make it where you can stay home. It's just that often people don't want to make those choices. I know there are exceptions to that. There might be some unusual situation where you really have to work for a period of time. But for the most part, in general, I think the choice can be made to have a very modest lifestyle and so that the mom can stay home. And I would like to propose to you that I think that that is the best way. And again, I'm not trying to make you feel judged or shamed or whatever. If you've chosen a different path, that's fine. I'm not. I mean, I think we can either, if you think your path was right, then we can just agree to disagree, right? But I really believe that the best situation for children is to be raised in a home where mom is at home. And my husband grew up in daycare. My sister-in-law grew up in daycare, and some of my other friends grew up in daycare. And I can tell you that every single one of them wished that their mom would stay home. Every single one of them has told me how sad it was being in daycare. And I don't want to break any mom's hearts right now. Like if you're hearing that and your child's in daycare and you feel like maybe you're a single mom or like you can't figure out a way to be a stay-at-home mom or something, I I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't want to add to your pain. But I can tell you that when children are home with their moms, is there anyone in the world, if things are healthy and reasonably normal, is there anyone else in the world besides your mom that loves you as much as she does, that has your best interest at heart in everything that she does, um, that is going to take the time to teach you and nurture you and love you and esteem you in a way that a daycare worker absolutely does not, or even have the capability to do, especially when they have like 10 or 15 kids they're caring for. So one time I was really tired and frustrated. I had all my little kids, and I was feeling like my work was so mundane. Like all I do is cook, clean, make snacks, wipe noses. It's just frustrating, right? It's just kind of boring. And also it just felt so insignificant. And I said to my mom, like, I hate this. I feel like all I do is cook, clean, wipe noses, blah, blah, blah. Say no, say yes, and feel exhausted all the time. And I was just kind of complaining about how miserable I was in that moment. And my mom looked at me and she said, "Yes, but can you imagine what the world would look like if every mother did what you're doing right now?" Think about that. What would our crime rate be if every mother was a stay at home mother with their children? I would imagine it'd be pretty dang low. Um, I am not talking about perfection by any means. Just because you're a stay-at-home mom does not mean that you are a perfect mom or that you're doing everything right or that your kids are perfect or that everything's going to go well. It's not. That's reality, right? Like life is hard, there's complicated issues. None of us are perfect. But I just want to propose the idea that maybe we have believed a lie in thinking that it's good to put kids in preschool and daycare and go off to work as moms. Maybe that's not true. And what if we changed it? What if we reversed course? What if we could help society in general? And it just starts with us, right? Like us with our kids or our grandkids or our great grandkids, teaching them that it's better to do it this way, teaching them good financial principles so that they can afford to even make that choice, teaching them the value of raising children. What would the world look like if every mother spent her days pouring into her children, her family, her home? Can you even imagine what that would be like? Well, I am a little mad at no, I'm a lot mad at the women's lib movement and what they have done to our society. I believe they have devastated our society. And I also believe that there's a whole bunch of us who never even did believe that men were better than women. That's not even like we're not there. We're way past that. In fact, if anything, I think we're at a place where the women's lib movement has gone so far and is so out of control that there's this belief that women are better than men. In fact, it's everywhere. I see stuff all over the place with these like rude, obnoxious comments or memes about how women are better than men, women are smarter than men. You know, if you need to get a job done, give it to a woman. Just all these like really over the top, disrespectful, horrible things to men. And to men, I want to just say, I am so sorry. Like, I hate that. You do not deserve that. That is not true. I'm not better than you because I'm a woman, and you're not better than me because you're a man. And we know that, right? Like, I think most of us, if we are reasonably healthy and in tuned with God at all, know that both genders are loved, important, and of equal value. We don't have to go to work, moms, to prove that we're equal. In fact, I would say staying home is the most honorable, important job you could ever do. Okay, I said it. I got it out there. I was afraid you were going to be mad, and you might be. You might be mad at me for saying that, or you might just feel sad. You might feel like you made a different decision and you can't go back, and it's just discouraging. So, if that's the case, if your kids are already raised and you worked and you were not a stay-at-home mom and they were in daycare and you're feeling like really sad right now, I would just pray. Let's, like when we can't go back and change things from the past, let's ask God to redeem it. Let's ask God to make it better than we did. Like I often ask God to give me better than I deserve, especially with my kids. Like help me, help my kids be wonderful, help them to be better than I deserve. And that is the kind of God that we serve. He gives us better than we deserve. I'm not saying you don't deserve great kids because you work. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like that's the kind of prayer that I pray. And I think that if you feel like you have regret about that, just cover the situation in prayer and ask God to help any little part of it that you feel concerned about. Your children, your own self, regrets that you have, just take it to the Lord. If it's not too late, if you are maybe a young adult and are not married and are thinking about getting married or are getting married and don't know if you want to be a stay-at-home mom and also know that feels pretty disrespected to be a stay-at-home mom, right? Like there's so much respect by the world's standards for women who work, but virtually none if you choose to stay home. It's kind of like, oh, okay. Like it's really looked down on. So if you haven't made that transition into having children yet, I really want you to consider the possibility that you should be a stay-at-home mom, that it's the most important thing you could ever do. No one is going to love your children like you are. No one is going to have the ability to discipline and train and correct and nurture and esteem and build up the way that you can. No one is going to do it like you. And yes, it is hard to live on a single income, especially like for us. My husband was an educator and he was very capped in what his income could be. It wasn't like if he worked harder, he could make more. It's like in education, it's like, this is how much you make and that's it. You don't make more. There's no bonuses. There's no extra. If you work overtime, you still get the same amount. So that's hard, right? It's hard, but there's ways to do it with budgeting, with being very disciplined with your money and getting creative. And so it's totally doable. I've done it and I really want to just help you consider choosing that path for your own life if you're at the stage where those kinds of decisions are being made. And so today I want to share with you a recipe. And the reason I love this recipe so much is because, as I've talked in the past episodes about hospitality, it's a great thing to make when people are coming over because you don't have to kill yourself making it. It's not hard. It is not expensive and it is so stinking delicious. What more could you ask for? So I'm going to show you 2 different ways to make the same dish. So the first way I'm going to show you is the more delicious way. So if you have the time to do it this way, it's a little bit more work, but it's worth it if you have the time and can do it this way. And then I'm going to show you the very quick, super easy way to make the same dish. The flavor isn't quite as good, but sometimes, especially when you have lots of little kids, you don't have a lot of time. And a quick, easy dish is more important to you than something that could taste a little better if you put more work into it. So I'm going to show you both ways of making. This is the brown sugar garlic chicken, and I love it. And I think you're going to too. So let's go to my kitchen and I will show you how I make it. Just a reminder, everything that I shared today will be on rachelham.com on the resources tab. Just click on the resources tab and then go to the episode that you're looking for. And the same exact title of the video on YouTube or Rumble will be the title on the resources page so you can find everything. Okay, so to make this amazing garlic brown sugar chicken, I am going to use 6 boneless, skinless chicken thighs. Now you can use chicken breasts, either one will work. I have found that the boneless, skinless chicken thighs just are a little bit more flavorful and juicier, and I just like them better, but you can use either one. Then you're gonna put them in a Ziploc bag and add some buttermilk. Yes, buttermilk, don't worry, we're gonna pour it out, we're not using it, it's just to tenderize the meat. Then you're going to add some minced garlic, preferably organic, and some salt and some pepper, about a couple teaspoons of salt and a teaspoon of pepper. Put it in a Ziploc bag just like this. You're going to let it marinate, preferably for about 24 hours. Could be 12 hours, could be even a half hour. Whatever you do will help. Then, when it's time to cook it, you're going to get rid of the buttermilk and the marinade. Basically, that was just to tenderize the chicken. Trust me, it's worth it. It's a good step to take if you really want to go the extra mile and make this chicken amazing, especially if you use chicken breasts. It really helps for tenderizing the chicken breasts. Okay, then you're going to get all of the extra liquid off of the chicken. So I'm using a paper towel to just get all of that off because you don't really need to have that on there. That, again, was just a preliminary step, and we really want to flavor the chicken with other things. So just dab it off like this, set it on a plate, and it's really easy. Next, you're going to get fresh, real garlic. So this is a garlic bulb, and then there's a bunch of different little individual cloves inside, garlic cloves. So you just take your knife, kind of wedge it in between where you can feel there's a couple of bulbs, or cloves, I guess you would say, and just start breaking it apart. So it'll kind of come apart and you'll see that there's a bunch of cloves inside of the bulb, the garlic bulb. Okay, so then that paper, you're gonna just get rid of the paper, get it down like this, where you've got the garlic cloves, but they still need to be peeled. So you just chop off each end of the garlic, and see how I kind of hold my knife there? That helps peel it off. And then you just finish off with your fingers, peeling off of the rest of the paper until you have it where it's just kind of shiny and you can see that all the paper is removed. And sometimes it comes right off, and sometimes you have to kind of go like that, scraping it off, peeling it off a little bit with a knife. And then other times you'll click on it with your knife and it comes off all in one piece. So it just depends. Once it's ready though, it's shiny like that. and then you just go through and do all the bulbs. I'm sorry, the cloves. The bulb is the big part. Then these individual things I'm chopping are the cloves, the individual cloves. And so what I do for this recipe is 2 cloves per piece of chicken. So if you're doing 6, like this recipe is, then you would obviously chop up 12 or get 12 cloves ready. But you can also adjust this recipe and just make 2 pieces of chicken, or you can double it, make 12 pieces of chicken, or anything in between. So once you have all the paper off, however many cloves you're using, you just start chopping it up like this. It's really easy. Just chop, chop, chop. It's actually kind of enjoyable and therapeutic. I like it. And the smell, oh my gosh, the smell of fresh garlic. There's nothing like it. So just chop it up until you have it not really minced, I wouldn't say. You kind of want it like chunky, but yeah, just chop up the cloves like this. Then you're going to preheat your oven to 350 degrees and then head on over to the stove with your chicken, your plate of chicken, some olive oil, and some butter. I use at least a cube of butter for this dish. I'm also going to use a black, not wrought iron skillet, what is it called? Cast iron skillet. A black cast iron skillet. I love those. I cook with them all the time. Also, all of this will be on my resources page so you can find links to the exact products that I use. Now I'm going to just drizzle some olive oil over the chicken, and then I'm going to put a little bit of black pepper and a little bit of the pink Himalayan salt. I use that salt because it has minerals in it and it's really good for you, and it's just a little healthier than regular salt. But you can use table salt, you can use whatever kind of salt you want to use. And then I like this little black pepper grinder, so that the pepper is really fresh tasting. I feel like it does make a difference. So I do use a grinder, and just sprinkle it on one side of the chicken, because what we're going to do is after we put it into the wrought iron skillet, we will we'll turn it over, and I salt and pepper the other side of the chicken when it's already in the skillet. So now I'm going to take some olive oil. I use organic extra virgin olive oil, but again, you can use whatever you want. I'm going to drizzle it, and I kind of do like a crisscross pattern in the pan. Just helps it be more evenly, exactly distributed around the pan. Just like this, kind of like a zigzag back and forth, crisscross. And then add butter. Now there is no shortage of butter in this recipe. To start, I put about 3 tablespoons of butter. Now you definitely want to put both olive oil and butter. Butter is going to add a whole bunch of flavor, and the olive oil is going to be able to handle the high heat. You're going to cook this on medium-high heat. So wait until the butter is all the way melted, kind of shift the pan around like that so the olive oil and the butter are evenly distributed, and then just take your chicken and put it seasoned side down into the pan on medium high. So it should be sizzling, like there should be a sizzle sound, because what we're going to be doing is browning the chicken. That's where that really a big boost of extra flavor comes in, browning it first. So see how I now I'm salting and peppering the back side of the chicken, and then just letting it cook for, it varies depending on, exactly how hot you have it and all that, but a couple minutes, minute and a half to 2 minutes, until you get some brown on the chicken, and then you're going to turn it over to the other side and brown the other side. Once it's browned on both sides, you're going to take the chicken out and put it into a 9x13 casserole dish. Because of how much butter and olive oil is already on it, I don't butter the dish or put any oil in the 9x13 pan, but you can if you want to. Also, I really think that it's good to have a lot of brown on the chicken. So I decided to turn it back over and get a little more brown on that chicken before putting it into the 9x13 dish. Then you're just going to repeat with the remaining chicken. Remember that brown equals flavor. So that's why you want it on medium-high heat, because you're really just trying to quickly cook the outside of the chicken and get it browned, but not cook the inside of the chicken. So it's a medium to high heat. so that you're quickly getting that brown color on the outside, but we're still gonna finish it off in the oven. So see here, I'm just salting and peppering the back side because I've already done the other side. And then the second batch tends to brown a lot quicker because the cast iron skillet has gotten a little bit hotter as you've been cooking, and so you can see that that went pretty quick. Turn it over, looks delicious. Look at all that brown. It's gonna be so good. Okay, now that it is browned on both sides, I am finished with the browning process. So I'll just take those boneless, skinless chicken thighs that are browned on both sides, put them all into the dish, and now turn the temperature of the pan down to more like medium low. We definitely want to bring the temperature down. And sometimes I add a little bit more olive oil and butter to this too before putting in the garlic. So that helps bring the temperature down a little bit too. And you want to do that because garlic burns very easily. So garlic needs a lower temperature, and you don't cook it for very long. So I'm adding about 3 more tablespoons of butter and another little drizzle of olive oil, and then I'll add the garlic. Again, just kind of shift the pan around so that it's all being evenly distributed around the pan, and then just take all that delicious garlic and put it into the dish, into the pan. It's gonna smell like heaven, and as it cooks, it gets even stronger and better. So good. Now just kind of move the garlic around in the pan. That helps it not burn, because it will burn easily if it's just sitting there. Kind of shift it around. That also helps it cook evenly on all sides and just get nice and slightly browned. And I'm even moving it off of the heat because it will burn so quickly. So that's why I shifted that pan over to the left. Just stir it nice and gentle as your whole world is filling up with the smell of heavenly garlic. Okay, now it is time to add the brown sugar. I'm gonna add about a cup of brown sugar to this butter and garlic, and then just stir it around. At this point, I'm actually turning the temperature all the way off, turning the stove all the way off. So it's not on the heat, because the brown sugar will also burn pretty easily, and we just want it to melt, be kind of caramely, not burned. So you turn the stove all the way off and just stir it around for not long, really like maybe 40 seconds-ish. You just want it kind of starting to come together with the garlic and the butter and look kind of caramely, and then we're good to go. Now I'm going to get my oven mitt because this pan is very heavy and very hot, so you don't want to burn your hands. So I get oven mitts and come back to pour this delicious garlic, brown sugar, butter dish over the chicken. Stir it around a little bit and then pour. Just pour it straight over all that chicken. That's it. Butter, brown sugar, garlic. I mean, what could go wrong with that? Yum. Then you're just gonna stick this chicken into your already preheated oven for about 15 minutes, or until the chicken is 165 degrees. Okay, so now that I've showed you how to make it the most delicious way, now I want to show you how to make it the easiest, quickest way. You're gonna love this. Remember I told you I didn't know how to cook when I first got married? So this is definitely the method I would have used when I first got married, when cooking was very overwhelming. And if maybe cooking's overwhelming to you too, if you're busy, if you're working, if you have lots of little kids, like there's just so many things that make it where we want the quickest, easiest way to do something, right? So this is incredible. You're gonna love this. So easy. Okay. So again, I have a boneless, skinless chicken thigh, just like the other way. So I'm just gonna dry it, get the natural juices off, because we're not really wanting the watery substance that's on the chicken. We're really wanting the flavor. So we're gonna get that dry. I'm just doing one this way just to show you, since I already made it the delicious way. Okay, so you're just gonna put that into a cooking dish and about a tablespoon of butter per chicken thigh or breast. And you're just gonna pour a little bit of melted butter over it, flip it over, a little melted butter on that side, okay? Then we're going to sprinkle on some of I use the pink Himalayan all natural salt because it is better for you and has lots of good minerals in it for you, but you can use whatever you want. You can use any kind of salt. And then black pepper. Okay, and then I am going to just put the brown sugar. I'm just gonna sprinkle it right over the top. Just a little layer of brown sugar. And then kind of pat it onto the chicken so that you're like getting it like a crust, kind of patting it on like this. And then we're just gonna flip it over and do the salt, a little bit of salt, a little black pepper, and then the same thing again, just sprinkle the brown sugar on top of it, pat it in like a little crust, and then I have 2 cloves of garlic that I'd already peeled when I peeled the others, so I'm just gonna chop that. And it is fresh garlic, which really is better, especially for this recipe. And it's not hard to do, so it's doable. Okay, that's it. Got the fresh garlic. I'm just gonna pile it right on top of the chicken. And do try to kind of, you want it like, you don't want it all in one spot, like try to kind of spread it around a little bit. Okay, and then I have a little bit of butter left that I'm just gonna pour over that garlic. And that's it. And then you cook it. See how I've got the fresh garlic spread out over it? So easy, so easy. It's ridiculous. Anyone can do it. And the flavor is incredible. It's so incredible. Okay, so I'm not gonna tell you how long to cook it because I feel like you really need to figure out your own oven as far as temperature, time. So it depends on what you're cooking too. Like I am doing these smaller boneless, skinless chicken thighs. They take a different amount of time than chicken breasts. Depends on what you're using. So you're gonna need to look at the temperature of the chicken is the best way to do it. Approximately though, this will take about 18 minutes to cook. So at 350. So that is my delicious, easy, super easy. How easy was that? Come on. You can do that. Anyone can do that. Even I could have done that when I didn't even know how to boil water, but I could do that. And so can you. I hope this has inspired you to maybe make a home-cooked meal, especially if that wasn't really your thing, like I just feel like that was me, where it was like not really my thing. I didn't know what I was doing. And so anytime I could get a recipe where I felt confident, like I feel like, oh, I can do that. I can do that. I loved those recipes. And so I think this is one of those recipes for sure. And it's so delicious. You don't sacrifice taste. So you busy mamas who want quick meals, enjoy. And then can you just leave me a little comment if you make it? Leave me a comment, tell me that you made it, tell me what you think, and also share any tips. Like if you found, I did it this way and it worked even better or whatever, let's learn from each other. That would be great. If there's a better way to do something, I wanna know about it. So that's it for today. I hope this inspired you to maybe make a home-cooked meal and sit around with your family or your friends or your neighbors and be hospitable, have community, have conversation, and enjoy good home-cooked food. There's nothing more comforting than good home-cooked food. And I don't know about you, but I could use some comfort right now. Hope this has been a blessing to you. Thanks for watching. God bless you, and know that you are loved. See you next time. For this recipe and for links to the products that I used while filming this recipe, head on over to rachelham.com and click on the Resources tab.